Why hello everyone, I'm Steven from Tostemac and it's time... Okay, that just happened. Anyway, I'm Steven from Tostemac and it's time... Okay, that's getting really annoying. I am Steven from Tostemac and it's time... What now? Sorry, I gotta take this, hold on. Oh, that's right! We have something very special for you guys tonight. So, for tonight's Autism Vlog, we have a very special guest. He's someone that I met at VidCon a few months ago during a panel. We got to talking a little bit, he's very friendly, gives great advice. I know you guys will love him. Give it up for Josh from the popular YouTube channel, The Josh Speaks!
Hey everyone, Josh here. Thanks for having me on the video, guys.
Yeah, no problem, man. Great to have you on the channel. Now, for those who don't know who you are, why don't you give a brief introduction to who you are and what your channel is about?
Well, my name is Josh, and every single Monday through Friday, I make videos sharing tips, ideas, and stories teaching you how to be your best self. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about today is not exactly one topic, but many.
Oh? What do you mean?
As many of you have guessed, there's still a lot we don't know about autism. Even to this day, 1 in 45 kids may be diagnosed with autism. There's still a great many things about autism that remains a mystery to us. Unfortunately, because of the mystery and uncertainty, there have been several myths about autism that have come about. Now, I understand why people would make valid assumptions as to why those things would be true, but I think it might be a little misleading. So I took the time to put together a list of 10 autism myths. Would you like to go over them with me?
Getting the chance to debunk some autism myths alongside a big and famous YouTuber. Well, that is simply too good to pass up. Alright, I'm up for debunking some myths if you are. But before we get started...
Wait, what did you just do?
Oh, just a little bit of tinkering with the program, you know, to set the right mood and whatnot. Now that I'm all ready, let us begin, shall we?
Perfect. Let's start with the biggest myth out there. Autism myth number 1. Autism is a disease.
What? There are some people that think that autism is a disease? Wait a minute. Oh my god! I have autism!
Steven?
Huh? Oh, right, I'm supposed to be debunking the myth. Sorry about that. So you're probably wondering how this particular myth managed to spread like the plague over the years. Bad joke?
Pretty bad if I'm being honest.
Right, sorry about that. Well, the reason's quite simple, really. Think back to the early 1900s when we didn't know much about autism. I mean, heck, it didn't even have its own name until like, what, 1911 or something like that? The problem, though, is that in those early years, some people kept mixing up the words disability and disease.
If you look up the textbook definition of these two words, disease is defined as a disorder of structure or function in a human, animal, or plant, especially one that produces specific signs or symptoms, or that affects a specific location and is not simply a direct result of a physical injury. Whereas a disability is defined as a physical or mental condition that limits a person's movements, senses, or activities.
Right you are, Josh. So based on these definitions, we know that a disability is something that limits an individual's performance due to a physical or mental condition. Whereas a disease, on the other hand, is more of a disruption of the body's functions due to like a bug bite, something you caught from someone else, or maybe even something in the food that you eat. But the downsides that come from a disease only last as long as the disease is still in the body. Whereas a disability is something that you'll probably have for the rest of your life. And for the record, autism is not contagious. It's not like you sneeze on someone or cough on someone and all of a sudden you have autism. It's a lot more complicated than that.
The next myth might be a good branching point. Autism myth number 2. Autism can be cured, either by the use of medicine or a special diet consisting of specific foods.
Sorry guys, hate to break it to you, but autism is a lifelong disability and it's here to stay. Being born with autism has something to do with the genetics, the DNA. In other words, it's all in the brain. Now granted, we've made many advancements in the medical field, but not enough about autism to understand how to separate autism from the individual.
In fact, many people within the autism community find the concept of a cure for autism to be very insulting. The very statement implies that autism is an illness that hinders your child and must be removed immediately.
Going back to the definitions we have about disability and disease, you could probably understand why so many people would be angry about the idea of a cure for autism. Autism is here to stay. How you live with it is up to you.
But let's move on. Autism myth number 3. Bad parenting causes autism.
Oh boy, this is a rather sensitive myth.
When was the last time you saw a kid in the store who seemed to be misbehaving or acting inappropriately? Maybe something like screaming, headbanging, or running away from their parents. Odds are likely that you or another bystander may have thought that they're not doing something right, or if their parents even noticed the problem.
The issue with jumping to conclusions like that is when you focus on one possibility, you blind yourself to all the other possibilities, and thus the solution you may come up with might actually make things worse rather than better.
That may be true, but is it really okay to let your child roam around doing whatever? What if he or she gets hurt or touches something that they're not supposed to touch?
Well, of course you want to look after your children while you're out in public and make sure they don't get hurt, considering all the hazards that are out there. But here's the thing. The people that should know their children best are the parents themselves, not some random bystander watching everything happen and whatnot. And if parents need the extra help, there are services that can educate parents on how to help their autistic children during certain situations. And here's another thing to consider. Autistics usually have a set of rules to follow in their heads, like do this or don't do that. What they need to learn is that some rules that apply here don't always apply there. Like some things you do around the house might not be acceptable at a restaurant. But they can learn these things. All it takes is some training and a lot of patience. That's all.
Before we jump into the next myth, it's important to know that you can teach them what is appropriate and not appropriate in a public environment, but you have to be patient. Maybe take them to their favorite restaurant and try to teach them about the public environment with each visit. Just try not to do too much. Okay, autism myth number 4. Autists cannot feel any emotions or understand the emotions of others. In other words, they have no empathy.
I find that to be highly illogical, Captain.
A Star Trek reference? Really?
Hey, don't judge me. I can do whatever I want, darn it. Just because you're autistic doesn't mean that you can't feel any emotions. It's quite the opposite, in fact. Autistics tend to feel more empathy than neurotypicals and have fewer filters that protect them from other people's emotions.
Wait a minute, if that's really the case, then why do people still believe this myth? In fact, we've seen several times throughout our lives where autists seem disinterested in other people or show no emotion whatsoever. While keeping this in mind, wouldn't this statement be more feasible than myth?
You are partially correct, Josh. Please allow me to explain. While it is true that autistics feel more empathy than neurotypicals, they also have a harder time communicating said emotions with other people. It could be difficulties with facial expressions and body language, and contorting them in a way that communicates the right message to other people. But again, this can be learned with enough time, enough experience, and enough patience.
That was pretty well said, Steven, and I think this next myth is a good tie-in as well. Autism myth number 5. Autistic people can't have loving relationships.
Okay, where are you, Dad? I know you put this myth up on purpose just to mess with me. I just haven't found the right girl, okay?
Sorry to break it to you, Steven, but this is actually a myth.
Huh?
To clarify, when we're talking about loving relationships, we're not specifically talking about between two lovers. We're also talking about family bonds as well. Father-son, mother-daughter, brother-sister, and so on. Part of the reason for this myth, as we've mentioned before, is empathy. Being able to express your current emotions and being able to understand emotions that others are giving off. Yes, you can practice enough to pick up on the signs, but when it comes to love, it's not that simple.
Yeah, tell me about it. Many autistics like myself expect things to be done in a certain way, at a certain time, in order to get certain results. But here's the thing, love is many things, but organized is certainly not one of them. It's not about fitting love into your perfectly knit schedule or expecting something to happen in a certain way at a certain time. Love is all about finding that special someone. It's about finding out who they really are, and then finding out about how you really are. and leading to the ultimate question: do you want to spend the rest of your life with that person?
On that note, I'd also like to mention that I've done tons of videos on love and relationships, so if you ever need advice on those topics, come check out my channel, The Josh Speaks.
Actually, now that he mentions it, I've actually seen several videos that he's made on his channel, and they've given me really great advice about asking a girl out on a date, how to maintain relationships, how to do well in high school. There's some really good stuff in his videos. You should really check them out.
Now to move on to autism myth number 6. Vaccines cause autism.
Oh, look at me! I have all this scary data on this paper. Clearly this proves my point.
Oh yes, good sir, I find your discovery quite profound and original.
Yeah, let me give you the short version of that, guys. Vaccines have to do with helping the immune system. Autism is in the genetics. It is in the DNA. I've actually made a full video on this already. So if you want the full story on how vaccines do not cause autism, check out the link through the info card right here, or I'll leave a link near the end of the video. But long story short, vaccinations do not cause autism. Okay, good. Moving on.
Right. Autism myth number 7. Kids on the spectrum are just like Dustin Hoffman's character in the movie Rain Man. I'm gonna guess and say you don't like that movie?
No, I don't. I hate it.
I hate it with a passion of 1,000 suns. I wish I could take all the copies of the DVDs and throw them into said sun, and then implode said sun, thus creating a black hole, ripping and shredding all the DVDs into millions of pieces, and then bathing in the sweet relief that I never had to see that stupid movie ever again.
Okay then.
Now don't get me wrong, I don't hate Dustin Hoffman. He's a great actor and he was just playing a role that he needed to play. But what really irked me about his character is that he was showing something called, for lack of a better word, a savant skill.
By savant skill, he means that Rain Man portrayed extraordinary skills that most others would not have. The catch there is that he's not as good in terms of being social or trying to be like everyone else in terms of social norms and behaviors.
And this is what irritates me the most. Throughout most of the movie, he had to have his hand held the entire time, with his only saving grace being his savant skill. And autistics are not like that. Not all autistics are antisocial or socially awkward, and you don't need a disability like autism in order to have a savant skill. You just need enough training, time, practice, experience, commitment, not just a disability. I swear, if producers and directors weren't so scared about portraying people with disabilities as actual people, not these stereotypical molds that were set, perhaps we would actually see some interesting characters in the media for once.
Like The Good Doctor?
Still the practice, but at least they make an effort.
Anyway, let's get to the next one. Autism myth number 8. Autists can't speak.
Wait a minute! What do you think I'm doing right now? Just moving my mouth around and then editing the audio in later?
One of the biggest obstacles that autistics can face is communication, being able to convey what they want to express. This is because autistics tend to be more visual thinkers, and this can make it difficult to process and interpret language, whether it's spoken or written. As a result, when autistics do speak, many people assume that they just don't have autism.
Ugh. I swear, if I had a subscriber, for every time I surprise someone that I have autism, I'd probably have over 1 million by now. Seriously, where's my gold play button, guys? Come on! Autistics can learn to communicate. It just takes time and practice. And a lot of times it might not even be verbal. It might not be just speaking the language. Maybe it would be just typing or writing it down or some other form of communication that's not verbal. But we can communicate.
You mean like you're doing right now?
Yes, exactly! So moving on to autism myth number 9.
Wait a minute, I thought I was introducing the myths.
Oh, right. Sorry.
It's all good. Autism myth number 9. Recently, there's been an autism epidemic going on.
Do they even know what the word epidemic means? Here, let me look it up for you, okay? Epidemic is defined as a widespread occurrence of an infectious disease in a community at a particular time. And as we mentioned before, autism is not a disease. Furthermore, just because there's a lot more diagnosis of autism in recent years doesn't mean that it's an epidemic. It means that we know a lot more about autism, thus we can give more accurate diagnosis for more people. That way they can get the help that they need.
Some could even argue that historic figures like Albert Einstein might have had autism because he's displayed certain traits that are similar to autism. He was excellent at math, but he sucked at literature. He flirted with girls, but he didn't focus much on passionate relationships. Teacher says, stop sleeping during class. Einstein says, I already solved that equation. What's taking you so long?
Interesting. Well, it's a shame that we'll never find out.
Yeah, it's not like you can invent a time machine and go back in time to ask him, but what are you gonna do? Autism myth number 10. Autism only affects boys.
Oh yes, be sure to tell that myth to people like Temple Grandin, Henriette Seth, and Jessica Applegate. I'm sure they'd love to hear that myth. Either a boy or girl, there's still a chance that you could be diagnosed with autism. It's just that the signs of autism that experts look for are more obvious in males rather than females. But how can this be?
According to research, girls tend to be better at communication, learning social skills, anger management, multitasking, flexibility, more so than boys. It's simply how they're built. They also tend to be better at fitting in with other people more so than boys, and they're willing to go to greater lengths to compensate for their difficulties just to move attention away from them. This of course leads to a lot of confusion because these tend to be the areas that experts observe in order to make their diagnosis. As a result of the signs of autism not being so obvious in girls, we need to look at other areas of potential weakness in order to get a more accurate diagnosis. Otherwise, we might draw the wrong conclusion, and the individual in question might miss out on possible benefits and additional aids that can help them later on.
The bottom line is, guys, is that autism can happen to any of us, be it either a boy or a girl. Are there challenges for autistics that neurotypicals may never have to face? Can this make living with autism more difficult? Yes, but autism is nothing to be feared. It is not a bad thing. It just means that you were born differently, that your brain was wired differently. Nothing more and nothing less. You were born into this world with a special gift, something unique to you that no one else can replicate. And while there may be some kernels of truth within the myths, that doesn't make the myths themselves true. It is up to people like us to educate others that are less informed or misguided, to inform them that autism is not the end of the world, but rather a doorway to another point of view. So what do you guys think? Do you agree with what we said? Are there some autism myths that we left out or missed in the video? What personal experiences do you have with certain autism myths? Let us know in the comments down below. Let's start a conversation here. And on that note, I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you so much for watching this very special video, guys. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Tostemac to stay up to date on our latest vlogs. Also, don't forget to hit the bell. That's how you stay up to date. And thank you so much, Josh from the Josh Speaks, for taking time to be a part of this amazing collaboration video.
No problem, man. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as we did, and if you want to see more videos diving deeper into how to be your best self and how to be somebody great, come check out my channel, The Josh Speaks. Also, we know that we didn't cover all of the autism myths today, and there are some we may just not know about. So if you know of any autism myths, leave them down in the comment section below.
So thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and until the next video,
Love and peace.